There's a little old ditty that goes, Higamus, hogamus, no wait a minute, Higamus, hogamus, woman's monogamous, hogamus, higamus, man is polygamous. I guess it could be rewritten now as, Higamus, hogamus, man is monogamous, hogamus, higamus, woman's hypergamy. Hypergamy is, technically it has to do with marrying above your class in economics, caste systems, class systems, whatever. A kind of cross-hatching hypergamy could be considered to exist in those cases where you had impoverished or at least low economic situation, nobility, usually English, marrying American heiresses. Lady Astor was a case in point. So the American side of the equation is hypergamizing upwards and getting into a titled family is considered classy because of idiocy attitudes left over, despite the attitudes of the founding generation, some of it founding fathers, which was against all that sort of stuff. But though there was a tendency from George Washington on to imitate European classiness, the hypergamy on the part of the male in the situation, however, would be of marrying up in money. So it's not that simple. I've noticed that on the WalletShoeButt.org site, Ted's buddy Andrew Bijat, how pronounced, is has adopted the MGTOW assessment of women as essentially hypergamous. All of these things, well, okay, monkey branching is where a woman, or for that matter a man, but it's usually a woman, is she's with some guy, illegally or not, and she finds somebody she thinks is better, economically, physically, whatever, and so she moves to this guy. Now, of course, it can also be called hypergamous because she's going up in. She figures she's got a better catch here, or it's just this is more convenient or something. I don't know, but it goes from bouncing from partner to partner. And by the time there's some stress going on in the family, in the situation, she's got somebody else in mind, supposedly, while the poor guy doesn't know what's happening, and he's cheated of his companionship and the mother of his children, or whatever. Or he's just upset because even though he didn't think in terms of permanence, he didn't think in terms of getting dumped either. And there can be covert cheating going on without overt dumping. Now, all this has to do with sin and evil and fickleness and shallowness and so forth. Some of the complaints I've read from men, is one was particularly heartrending about he thought he was going to have this, friend, special friend who's his lover, is share thoughts and walks in the evening or on the beach or whatever with, and hand-holding and stuff like that, and romance forever. As soon as they're married, she has apparently done a bait and switch on him. So then now she is playing all these games like, well, she's just not the same person he married, okay? But apparently he had money or something. In fact, a lot of these complaints come from guys with money. So they've been going to these, meeting women in context of, but another thing is, though, a lot of these guys do the bait and switch also. The chase is off, so they aren't giving the woman the attention she wants, and she starts looking somewhere else once he's won her, whether it's legal marriage or not. And it's like, some of them won't actually, a few of them actually say, okay, women want attention. What they want is love, okay? And when you go and you're doing the chase, you're giving her what looks like love, she thinks is what you spontaneously are under the influence of your emotions for her, instead of just watching her reactions and seeing what gets her to move towards you and smile and look a certain way, and you just keep doing that sort of stuff. You don't really mean it. You're just manipulating her. Psychopathic, lying piece of trash. That's what you are. But so are you women who pull the same shit. And, you know, some people, one woman, she said to me once that her view of the ideal man was to somebody work hard and provide and all that stuff, and it's like, and she was holding down a job herself. Well, what about love? Now, what about affection and stuff like that? So the guys complain that they're not loved, they're not appreciated, and the women complain they're not loved and they're not appreciated. And some people say, well, there's different love languages. No, what it is an element of fraud to begin with. And then some women idiotically think that they are going to redeem this man, that their love, there's a special woman who's better than the others that he couldn't hold on to him, and they can win him, and he'll be okay, and beyond a great man is a great woman, all this shit. You know what really goes on is one person had the sense years ago to recognize and say, you may think you got him to settle down. You may think you're the one that could win him. And there's an ego, pride, it's in a pride angle hiding in there. Looking down on those other women. No. You weren't any of those things. You were the one available when he decided that he was done playing around and he's getting a little older, a little slower, or there's more advantages economically or whatever, or even decided it's time to be moral and maybe this life he's been living isn't so good. And then while he's been using these other women to facilitate his interests when he was that way, now he's using you to facilitate his interests when he's this way. But he's still just using women. Part of the trouble can be just what was the first sexual experience. This can shape a person, male or female. It's not such a question so much of remembering the first person all the time, but rather what turned you on early on can shape your tastes. And I wouldn't be surprised if some tastes of adult men for 12, 14-year-old girls and then maybe a little bit older is because they were having sex too young themselves with girls that age. So part of their eroticism is geared to a girl who looks like that. Now, and this whole thing of shaving the pubic hair off entirely, I mean, it makes her look prepubescent. What kind of pervert? What is going on? Why would somebody want a woman who looks like that? I mean, sure, there are some races that have minimal hair anywhere, including there. But this is like total hairlessness, and it also has got potential medical and physical problems. Now, back to this hypergamy stuff. The only reason this is given any, that this is a woman's nature, she can't help it, that's just the way she is. There's all this twisted stuff the Christians believe about woman's nature, and that she has to be, and that her nature isn't to produce or provide or accomplish or anything. That's all male. And that men, you know, if the women are able to do things for themselves, and then the men, you know, are going to have an identity problem, because what are they needed for? What they're needed for is emotional support. What they're needed for is a love they pretend to give. And the thing is, this is not biblical. The first mention of women's roles of any sort wasn't even a role. It was just a de facto situation. God cursed Eve after the fall and said that he would greatly increase her pain in her conception, according to Hebrew, interlinear. So she got more fertile. And children may be useful to men, but they slowly wear down. Reproduction, being used as, you know, regular breeding material, wears down a woman, female animal, whatever. She probably was originally not that fertile, not even ovulating that often. And then in pain will give birth to children, something like that, and your yearning, it says in one, your desire in one translation, but your recourse will be to your husband, to your man, and he will rule over you. This is the end result. Okay, so she's going to be having children more often than she normally would. She is going to have more stress out of the situation. And she is going to, for various reasons, even though she might be, out there as a hunter-gatherer, providing the bulk of the food that's dug out of the ground or picked off the leaves and stuff, which is the usual case. And she originally would have been a hunter, too. There's lots of legends about women originally being hunters and so forth and gradually fading out. And then she's become somewhat dependent on him. And as a result, the golden rule, who has the gold makes the rules. He rules over her. Now, this, in Proverbs 31, but there's no reference. I mean, she wasn't a helpmate. She was helpmeet. A helper fit for. Meet means fit, proper. Let's speak in English, okay? She was a helper fit for him because, like him, Ezer Neged, Ezer, a helper who's a partner, not a subordinate. The term's used about God himself at times. The God is my helper. And Neged is, context determines the exact meaning, but it's face-to-face. Can be man-to-man, can be friendly, can be opposition. But this was the kind of woman she was, a tomboy in Amazon. She did not have some woman as a mother telling her, oh, guys don't like this and guys don't like that, and you got to be feminine, and showing subtle disapproval after she actually starts to imitate her mother, and showing subtle disapproval if she starts being too not quite feminine enough or something, So she gets a message, and she sets this model. No, her model was a man. Her model was whatever she felt like doing and seemed to be capable of doing in the moment, and then also Adam. And she didn't disobey Adam. She disobeyed God when she took that forbidden fruit. Now, in St. Paul's statements about man being the head, he effectively pulled the teeth of and reversed the roles in abusive patriarchy, where the woman was the nurturer who was disposable. And instead, the man had to be the nurturer. He's in this position of power over her and in legal and social practices, which somehow did not get eviscerated when, I guess, just a big, when Christianity became not only legal, but the official religion of the empire. The next thing was you had scads of people coming in. Not enough priests to deal with it, not enough anything, just, not enough catechizing. And also there had already been cases of women that were not worthy of it in being an influence, hence presbytides, female presidents were not declared invalid, never valid, just no more of these in the Council of Laodicea. And this has been warped. Someone, okay, man's a provider, the nurturer, he's a provider, and she's supposed to stay home and not do anything, and so on and so forth. Well, the Proverbs 31, what? Oh, yeah. The Proverbs 31 woman, however, she girds her loins, invigorates her arms, she goes out and decides on her own examines the field, she's competent. She isn't just headstrong out doing stuff by herself and screwing up, like one guy said that screwing up several things at once is not multitasking. She's not like that. And her man, she brings home the bacon. Well, she brings home she's a major provider in the family, so that he has no need of spoil, no lure to get into dubious financial gambits or maybe something illegal or immoral to get money. And he's one of those who is important and sits in the gates of the city, which is where the influential people, they get together and talk and so forth. And so everybody knew about her as the main support. This wasn't some hidden thing. And this was considered, he was proud of her, okay? And there was none of this, it wasn't any of this nonsense. And in the case of the wall being rebuilt in either Nehemiah or Ezra, it said that all those who worked on the wall of the city were armed, and a little later it says that Shallum and his daughters worked on the wall, so obviously they were armed too. Now, there's all these twisted views, and then these Barbie doll types, and the ego that's involved, and oh gee, dolling yourself up and so on, and then liking the attention from just which isn't so much love, it's just flattery. It's not even partake of that, but I like the flattery. There's this big ego and ambition stuff. A lot of what's listed as male nature and female nature is baptized sin, okay? That's all it is. And when you have the wrong idea about the sexes, it's easy to buy into notions that either excuse your own behavior or cause you despair about women's behavior, or men's for that matter. Instead of saying, "No, this is wrong, I'm not putting up with it, I'm not settling for this." And these manipulative, dishonest games of women, and a different type of manipulative, dishonest games of men. And men, you know, and women, they were supposed to be the primary partners. You find a few traces of this left in some societies. Herodotus mentioned some people in North Africa where the women were the charioteers driving the archer husbands' chariots in wartime. This kind of, you know, it had gotten so, and Augustine, he goes, well, you know, a woman couldn't possibly be of any help to a man except for reproduction. And that's not the picture painted at all. He didn't know his Bible very well, obviously. Or he blocked some obvious indicators out as just being impossible.